Colin Maynard again, Rex Holmes, and I just wanted to chat this afternoon a little bit with some of our leaders in the marketing team. We're just going to be discussing just Rex's marketing strategy overall, and really happy to have two of our senior leaders here today. You want to just introduce yourselves real quick?
Yes. So I'm Chris Myers. I manage our paid media team. I'm responsible for bringing in all inbound traffic and inbound leads on both the buyer and seller side of the equation.
Great. Hi, and I'm Craig Barrett. I'm VP of Marketing here. So my role is primarily focused on strategy and how we go about connecting buyers and sellers and getting the best possible outcome.
Great. Hey, Craig, why don't we just kick it off by just give us your, you lead this team. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what the team's function, what's the role there, and kind of what is your big overarching goals for the team?
Yeah, Rex is a little bit different in that we don't rely on the MLS as our primary marketing source. So we have to build that capability in-house to find buyers, to find sellers, and connect them. So we do that by supporting all of the major sort of marketing stack initiatives that you might see at an advanced tech company. So we have paid media, so that's your AdWords, your Facebooks, your Twitters. We also do heavy social media, so that's production of content, answering questions online. SEO is a part of what we do. We also have offline and traditional, so that's your TVs, your print radios, your print and your radios as well. And that is the primary objective there is to get in front of buyers and get in front of sellers faster, more cost effectively, and provide a better outcome for our customers so that they can sell their houses for more money faster.
Great. Chris, why don't you just tell me a little bit about in the paid media world, like what are some kind of trends you're seeing right now? And also maybe something, just give our viewers just a little insight to, what are some hooks that help with on the real estate side?
Sure. So I think for us, Rex is very heavy into market by market advertising. I think especially in the current COVID outbreak, every market has responded to the pandemic in a different way, both initially and now that different locations are starting to reopen. A lot of our marketing budget was heavily dictated upon what are each of those markets doing in terms of how are they allowing actual showings to go on? Are the government offices still available in order to get a home listed, to get a title transferred, anything like that might hinder the process of buying and selling a home. And really just making sure our marketing spin was going to the areas where we could really service the people that were still trying to transact. And I think when we start looking at the marketing landscape itself, you have to look at how people are actually buying advertisements and also the people that you might be talking to. Now, in that marketing landscape, there are less players in the field. A lot of brands have started pulling back their spend. That means it's a little bit easier to advertise and it costs less money for us to advertise, which is a great situation for us to be in. We try and take advantage of that where we can in markets that are healthy so we can get lower than anticipated ad spend. But on the other end of it, there needs to be sellers and buyers in the market for us to actually talk to in order for that spend to make sense. So it's a very delicate dance between the two. Just because the media is cheaper does not always mean we should be spending it if there's not a lead at the end of that.
Right. So Craig and Chris both, walk me through just kind of like a messaging strategy for an ad campaign. Maybe, let's talk about it during COVID-19. How are you want to be sensitive? Talk to me through how you guys pull that together and what are some key points that you try to pull through?
Yeah, well, at our core, we're a very test-focused business. So we don't presume to understand what everyone is thinking. We don't presume to understand what every family is worried about. So a lot of what we did initially, and we were able to respond really, really quickly. When the order for lockdown came, we were able to change our media within minutes and pause and start different things. But a lot of what we focused on the following days was really how do we talk to people in that moment and what are the messages that resonate? So it wasn't so much that we dictated up front. It was we came up with some hypotheses and then we started to test those messages. And so some of our messages really focused around how Rex could continue to help you sell your home or help you buy a home without physical presence being necessary. So we had a lot of virtual tour options and going through what we could do to push the process forward safely. We also continued to push some of the messaging around here's what you need to do in order to get your house ready to sell when you are ready to do that. So a lot of content supporting that. What do you do with this downtime? So, paint your house. Do you invest in making your walkway look nicer? And so a lot of our creatives supported that, even though it wasn't a direct call to action. It was informative and helpful. Mm-hmm. We also tested some of our economic benefits. And so Rex really helps people save and preserve the capital in their home, which is incredibly important during a time when a lot of people are facing economic hardship. So we also pushed some of that messaging, and we were trying to see where we saw response in which regions. And again, it's a very regional situation, where we saw responses with there, and then to follow that up with additional creative in that same vein. So it was a lot of testing and analysis to see what was working. And really that continued to change week to week. There was no single answer. It was really an evolution as people sort of absorb different realities in different regions.
Yeah, I would just say I loved seeing some of the creative materials you all put out around safety and how a virtual tour would take place. How is safety one of the key messages that you're pushing right now, and what are some other key messages that you think really resonate?
Yeah, I think we want to stick on the safety message and let people know that they can continue to make transactions in a way that's comfortable for them and for us. But I think one of the main advantages of Rex in this time is that we were already positioned just with our business model to answer a situation like this. In terms of contactless listings, contactless sellings, a lot of it can be handled virtually. And with that in mind, we have really tried to focus on, buying and selling a home from a couch. It's less about being overtly on, what is directly happening, because I think you're going to see a lot of not only competitors, but other brands currently advertising directly referencing the pandemic. But what we're trying to communicate is, Rex can serve you as a customer all virtually, whether it's with our app, whether it's online. We can do that process in a safe way that, is just built on the technology that we have currently.
Yeah. So, Craig, you're leading a team during all of this. What's some best practices or lessons you've learned leading through a pandemic?
I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question. Chris might be better equipped to say whether or not I've learned anything during this. But I think you'd hear this from almost anyone you ask, that communication is more challenging now and more important. So a lot of what we have done is, shift to daily stand-ups. If we're not in the same room or in a couple of different rooms, our daily meetings for 15 minutes have become increasingly important, both so I understand what's going on with my team and I can communicate it outwards. Mm-hmm. And so everyone else who is on this can try to get on the same page. Mm-hmm. And there's just a lot more moving parts than there used to be. You can't overhear what the people next to you are doing and say, oh yeah, I'm going to have that for you next week. You have to proactively go out, reach out and do that sort of communication. So the lesson I've learned is be proactive about communication, be forgiving about some of the speed adjustments that people will have to make. That doesn't mean slow down, but just understand that if people are on 4 different Zoom meetings scheduled for 2 hours, they've got to get through that before they can get back to you. And trying to be patient with some of the changes. So when we push through a new creative that says our CRMs can do something, our agents can do something, we have to go through a slightly more complex training process to make sure all that actually happens. So trying to stay aligned cross-team has been really important. And it's just about being proactive and taking initiative to have those conversations.
So Chris and Craig, I'll go to Chris on this first. You talked about how the ad buying game is a little different right now, right? It might be a little more affordable. Just things are different with COVID-19. Has the way you evaluate success of that campaign changed at all, and then maybe walk me through how the team evaluates success of a campaign more broadly?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. As I mentioned, media is a little bit cheaper to purchase right now. It's actually allowed us to go into different areas like television, connected TV, some out of home stuff, and some, some unique digital buys that way we wouldn't have considered before when we were, heavy into just generating leads, just because it's a little bit cheaper. Now, when we look at our normal lead gen campaigns, we are seeing at the top of the funnel that we can get these leads for a little bit cheaper, because on the whole, we're able to submit lower bids. The media is a little bit cheaper, and as long as our conversion rates at the top of the funnel they remain flat, even if they dip a little bit, we're actually netting out positive there in terms of that cost per initial acquisition. Now, what that needs to be measured against is what that down funnel looks like. We're not immediately selling something like a regular retailer or distributor or anything like that. We bring in the lead, we consult with them, we see if they're a good fit, and then that pathway or that timeline to actually, selling the home, or if they're buying a home, is usually a lot longer. So we are looking at those metrics down funnel, and we expect a little bit of a dip there to counteract the cheaper media. I don't think there's a silver bullet in terms of assessing true campaign performance right now, because it's just the environment and the economy is changing every single day. But we can see trends that we can try and act on. So if we see a specific market increase in listings, if we see a market and that's not just limited to our listings, it could be on Redfin or any other site that has additional listings that are posting, we say, okay, this market might be recovering generally. We should start spending more there. And if we can keep our rates flat in terms of cost per acquisition and conversion rate, then that feels like a good move for us.
And I think just, at a high level, success for the Rex marketing team is when we sell somebody's home, right? When we generate a happy customer. And so we measure everything we do from that. That's our locus of focus for this activity. But what we have seen, and sort of Chris alluded to here, was those timelines have elongated for a lot of consumers. They're more concerned about their job. They're more concerned about what the market might be doing in 2 to 3 weeks. And so they're taking their time. So activities where we used to say, okay, this is great at the top of the funnel, we should expect this many sold homes or this many new customers to join us in 2 to 3 weeks are now becoming 3, 4, 5 weeks. So what we evaluate for success hasn't really changed. We're still all about serving the customer and getting them the most for their home as fast as possible. But the reality is the time frame between those measurement points, when they call us, when we can schedule a consultation, when we can get their home online, that's just all drawn out quite a bit more. So we don't know exactly what the future will hold, but we do know that we have to be more patient with those measurements and say, okay, well, we knew initially we got the top of funnel leads at X rate, and we'll continue to monitor them all the way down through the system. So it's not so much that what we've measured has changed, but the level and the time frame at which we evaluate it continues to evolve.
Right. Let's talk really quick about social media. So, before coming to Rex, my experience with real estate social media was I would look for a home in, say, Pasadena, and the local real estate agent would have some form messaging on Twitter or Facebook, and I would go look for a home in Irvine or whatever it was, and this real estate agent would have the exact same form social media messaging. It's a little different here at Rex, the social media approach is. Can you just just give us an overview of how we use social media to market and to inform?
Yeah, social media serves a couple of different key purposes. The first and foremost is a proof point, a way for our customers to see us, to comment on us, to sing our praises when they give us reviews. And so that's a key part of what we're doing. A second important part of what we're doing is keeping our fans, and we do have fans, aware of what we're doing, what's new in the space, how we're evolving as a company. We just raised a large round, and what that could mean for us and what it could mean for our customers. So that's sort of element. And then we get into sort of the more interesting things. How do we use it to promote houses? Now, one of the challenges with a business like ours that might be different than, say, Nike. Nike has a shoe. It's generally available to everybody. It looks cool. You can like that. our business is hyper local. It's literally where you live, right? So we can't just have an entire feed of national houses like, oh, here's one in Oregon and here's one in Austin and here's one in San Diego. That's not going to be interesting to somebody who's shopping for a house in San Antonio, right? So we have to balance what we show with our houses, how we talk about them, keep it interesting to a large section of the audience, and promote generally our ability to promote these activities. So our social feed shows off what we can do on the paid side, how we leverage our paid social activities, which are a little bit separate from the unpaid social activities. And then finally, it's also a way for us to engage with our customers and our detractors as well. We have, every single day we get lots of people who don't like what we're doing, and we know we're on the right path when we get a lot of people who don't like what we're doing or who are angry at us, and we read off the mean tweets from time to time. But it does give us ability to explain to both those people who are interested in us and those people who don't like us what we're trying to do and how we're trying to improve the reality for consumers today. And social is a really good platform for that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember these are real people with real questions, and if you could be timely and real about your response, I think the better. It's great. So last two questions. What's something that's coming, the future, let's look out in the future. What's something coming on the marketing front that you're both really excited about?
Well, I think we have made a big push over the last couple of weeks into television, and that's gone well for us. A lot of our competitors have pulled back. We know that most agencies and most brokerages have retreated from media maybe between 90 to 100%. So we're pushing really hard into this and trying to establish our name to a wider audience and what we can do for the American consumer. So that's really exciting for us. On a more technical level, we've actually launched connected TV, and Chris can speak to that and what it actually is and why it works for our sellers.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing about connected TV for our sellers is that it gives us a way to communicate with people beyond what we're doing right now in all of our standard channels. Anyone that is deemed within our target audience, and they can be a buyer or a seller, and that's usually based on any interest that they may have, is eligible to be served an ad while they're watching Hulu, while they're watching any one of their cable providers' streaming services. They get a Rex ad that's one of our TV commercials. And then once they've seen that ad, we serve them additional ads whenever they're surfing the web. So that's called cross-device targeting. It's when they've seen one message, we can then follow them up with another message on a different device. And it can also work the opposite way. If we know that they've been exposed to some of our social content, if they've been exposed to one of our homes, they've showed any interest in our brand, we can then follow up with them with a TV commercial while they're watching their streaming platform of choice and really reiterate that message that we've been trying to give to them. And we found some early success in it. Like I mentioned before, with the somewhat cheaper advertising environment, this is a test that we can make. Even if we don't get the most positive results from it, we at least get learnings, and we got them, relatively inexpensively. But if it does work out, it's now a new lever for us to pull moving forward to ultimately make our buyers and sellers happy.
Great. Last question. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we continue to evolve a lot of our existing things. So our open houses, our virtual open houses are getting more and more advanced. So we've gone from recorded videos to live events to a whole series of scheduled events. So people can actually still tour these homes, still see what's available without setting foot inside. And we think that's a trend that's definitely going to continue after the COVID era. It's just a convenience thing. If you could look at 20 houses instead of 3 on a Saturday afternoon, wouldn't you want to do that? So that's what we're enabling.
It's amazing. I just got to look at the last iteration of that. I'm really excited to roll that out. It's going to be a really cool tool. Last question for you both is, what's the best part about being at Rex? What do you wake up in the morning and get excited about?
Well, I know Chris will answer working for me, but I will answer for myself saying the endless series of challenges. You don't upend a multi-trillion-dollar industry accidentally. So every day we wake up and there are 1,000 opportunities to improve what we're doing, improve the experience for the American consumer. And that is both on the marketing, communication, strategy, how we do all of this, how we serve our customer better. There's literally an endless series of puzzles. There's no point in my day where I'm ever bored. And so that's what I like the best.
Well, I would be remiss to not mention the wonderful team that I work around, of course, that makes the day bearable to get through. I think for me, it's to piggyback off of what Craig said. It's the opportunity for us to level up in every way. Standard marketing doesn't always do the trick when we're trying to to communicate a message that makes sense to us, but it fundamentally goes after something that needs to change. And that means we have to change the ways that we're communicating it. And that means every week we're trying something new. And that's not comfortable. It's not easy. But at the end of the day, I think everyone can look in the mirror and say, hey, because I had to try that new thing with my team, I'm a better employee for it. I'm better in my career. And ultimately it services Rex and it services the customers that we're trying to help.
That's wonderful. Hey, thanks for both of you guys for everything you do and joining us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.